As I pick up my scissors to open up my favorite snack, I don't think much about what I'm doing, but at some point in time, I had to learn this complex skill. So that's what we're going to look at today, the progression of scissor skills. Hello out there and welcome to OT Ideas for Littles. Today we're talking about scissor skills. Using scissors is a complex skill that requires many precursors to make it happen. You have to be able to use your vision, your hand-eye coordination, enough strength in your hand to use the scissors. You need to have the idea to cut, the motor planning to cut, as well as being just regulated enough and being able to attend to the task. So just to give you a quick overview of the progression of scissor skills, kids around age 1.5 to 2 years old use scissors with 2 hands to start snipping. We'll talk about which scissors to use in a minute. Kids around age 3 are able to snip on paper and move forward. By age 4, they're able to do this with pretty good accuracy, cut along a straight line, and starting to learn to cut curved lines. Around age 5, kids are able to cut triangles and squares, and by age 6, approximately, kids are able to cut more complex shapes. So we're going to take a look at the progression of scissor skills today and give you some ideas to work on this. So one of the main skills that I work on even before giving kids scissors is hand strength. We need their hands to be strong enough to open and close the scissors. So here's some ideas to target that skill. We could work with kids using clothespins, opening and closing them. There's lots of ideas for this. I'm going to make a video about it later. We could have them practice the opening and closing of a squirt bottle, a spray bottle. Having them squeeze something out of a bottle, maybe glue, but for now I have some clear hair gel. You could make a hand strengthening activity using a tennis ball, just cutting a slit to make a mouth and work on squeezing either side of the mouth. And maybe feeding this really cute creature. He's very hungry. There's other toys that you can buy that work on squeezing. There's squeeze rockets or these poppers where you squeeze to release a ball. One of the last pre-scissor skills that I introduce are tongs. Tongs are pretty similar to scissors in the sense that we need to close them and open them and coordinate them with another object. So opening them, putting them over the object to close and transfer to another area. So at the same time that I'm working on those strengthening skills with a kiddo, I like to introduce Play-Doh. Play-Doh scissors are the first scissors that I introduce to kids. Play-Doh in itself is a great hand strengthening activity. Having the kids squeeze the Play-Doh, pinching it, rolling it out, anything with Play-Doh is going to increase the strength in those hands. As far as scissors go, like I mentioned, kids 1.5 to 2 years old, 2.5, could be later, are using scissors in 2 hands. At this point in time, they're not strong enough to do it with 1 hand, so this is totally fine. They're just exploring a new skill. So they might just be snipping at the Play-Doh, or as we're getting a little bit closer, we might roll it out into a snake or a worm or a long cylinder and have the kiddo snip it in half. Okay. When a kid is ready to move to holding the scissor in 1 hand, I stick with Play-Doh for a while. I do the same thing, rolling it out. I'm usually holding it for them, having them open and close, open and close, open and close. If we're looking at positioning with scissors in our hand, we want the thumb facing up, middle finger in the hole, and pointer finger stabilizing. This is the ideal position. If kiddos are having a hard time remembering to keep their thumb up, there's a few tricks you can try. We could draw on their thumb a little smiley face. And that way when they're using the scissors, the smiley face should be looking at them. We could also put a sticker on their thumb to remind them to keep their thumb up. Depending on the scissors that you're using, there might be one hole that is bigger than the other or smaller than the other. The smaller hole being for your thumb and the other hole being for your other finger or fingers. You might use, just to help them know where the thumb goes, some tape. Just putting a little bit of tape around the one that it's supposed to go in. If it's a scissor like this, it doesn't matter. So once you get the paper out, the first thing you're gonna have a kiddo do is have them work on tearing paper in half. Not only does this solidify the concept of something that is one becoming multiple pieces, but this is also a hand strengthening activity. Once your kiddo has been practicing with Play-Doh for quite a while and is able to manage the scissors with that medium, you can move on to paper. Remembering that these scissors that we're going to use to cut paper are sharp, so always do this with adult supervision. At the beginning, you might have to help your child with this skill by placing your hand over the top of theirs to get that idea of the open and close. Open and close. Like I mentioned earlier, the first skill that kids are going to learn with scissors and paper is to snip. So snipping is just one single cut, okay? I like to practice this with a strip of paper. I'm usually holding the paper for the kids first, having them in the correct position with their thumbs up and snipping. Some kids love to count the number of pieces they're making. Other kids might like to make confetti. There's lots of ways to motivate kids to snip, and we'll talk about those in a few minutes. Even when they first start snipping, you can give them something like this and just have them snip, or you could draw small lines. Just having that target is a nice way for kids to know what's expected and where they should put their scissors. It gives them a little visual cue. All right, so now that your child is able to snip, we need to get them to move forward on the page. So the progression here goes from a straight line to a curved line to more complex objects that might have corners that they have to get around. So the first one, we're just drawing a straight line. Usually kids around 3.5-ish are able to hold the paper using a helper hand and cut at the same time. Their accuracy might not be great, but they're moving in a forward line. Around age 4, most kids are able to cut on a straight line, staying, within 1/4 inch of the line. Once they're able to cut a straight line, to make it more complex, we're going to curve the line. This could be a simple curved line, moving forward to a circle. Just something to note, when a kid is starting to do a complete object, kids who are using their right hand are going to start on the right side of the object and go counterclockwise. Kids who cut with their left hand are going to start on the left side of the object and go clockwise. This skill is more complex because they have to start moving their helper hand along with their scissors. After the circle comes something with edges, a triangle or a square, anything where they have to be able to control the scissors, stop at the corner, and turn. Stop at the corner and turn. Stopping at the corner and turn. After a kiddo has figured out how to stop at a corner and turn, we can go on to more complex shapes. So this might be cutting out their favorite cartoon character or something like that. For today, I'm going to draw a star. Star. So I'm not too worried about the age when kids are doing these things, but knowing the progression can help you know where your kid is at and what would be the next skill. So what do you do if your kid is just not motivated to use scissors? How can we help? Here's a couple of ideas that I've done with the kids that I work with. One of the most basic things to try would be to use the scissors as if they're a mouth and have them chomp, chomp, chomp as they go through something. Sometimes I will put a sticker on a piece of paper and have them chomp it in half. Other times I like to use visual aids. So if they're really interested in something like a car, I might take a car sticker, put it at the end of the paper, and draw a road or a line to get there. And have the kid cut up, chomp, 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 chomp to get to the car. Depending on their interests, this might be a train, this might be an animal going to get food. Whatever your kids' interests are, you can use those to motivate them. Some other ideas just to work on that initial snipping might be to have them cut a straw, or maybe taking them outside, having them help cutting the grass, cutting some dead leaves off of a plant. Snip, snip. Or maybe they're really interested in cutting up something for their snack that day. Maybe washing the scissors first, getting out a snack, and having them cut it into smaller pieces to serve it. And there are a couple of easy activities that you can make for motivation as well. One that I've used in the past has been using just a toilet paper roll. I draw some sort of face on the roll, and ahead of time I use my scissors to cut something that resembles hair. And when I give this to a kiddo, they can use their scissors to give it a haircut. I know lots of families have stories of children using their scissors to give themselves haircuts, so you can use your best judgment to decide if you want to show your kid how to do this. But if they take their scissors, they can snip, 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 and give this guy any sort of haircut, mullet, or whatever that they desire. And the last motivating idea I have for you today is using just one of their favorite animals or pictures, covering it with a green piece of paper, making some slits ahead of time to resemble grass, and having them cut away the grass to find what sort of animal is underneath, what's hiding beneath the grass. Okay, so here's what it looks like to start. And the kiddo's gonna have to snip, 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 cut the grass all the way down and figure out what's hiding underneath. Start small. If they're able to do that, you can go bigger. Another thing to consider when you're giving your child something to cut is the thickness of the paper. Thinner paper is going to be easier to cut. Thicker paper like cardstock or cardboard is going to be much harder. So grading that as well can help. I hope you found this helpful today. If you have any other ideas on how to progress scissor skills or things that have really worked for your child as far as motivation goes, please leave those in the comments below. If you're interested in more OT ideas to help your little, please subscribe to this channel. Thanks. One of the last pre-scissor... I could spend days playing with Play-Doh. Well, I do. It's basically what I do.